Hey everyone, Jeff at Tidybytes here to start review month in Tidy24. We're coming up on half a year of material, and I want to take a break from new stuff and spend a week on each of the first 4 topics that we've covered: email, photos, apps, and tasks. I figure the Mindset Month topics are still pretty fresh, and June this year only has 4 Tuesdays, so we're just reviewing the first 4. I plan to briefly recap and summarize all of the weekly topics in each month, reminding you of the action steps in each case and why they're important and how they help. If you want to dig deeper on any topic, just head back to that week's video on the Tidybytes channel or visit the Tidy24 calendar page on the website and find it in the list. All right, for week 1 of review month, we're looking back at email. What did we do during email month? In the first week, we started with a trick that's something of a shortcut to help you quickly get some breathing room, and that is to archive everything. It's an immediate, although temporary, path to inbox 0. So step 1, go to your inbox. Step 2, select all the messages there. Step 3, move them to a new folder or label in Gmail named something like Archive 2023 or whatever makes sense to you. Although this might feel like cheating, it's really not, because the point isn't that you're pretending to be magically organized. Simply moving your vast collection of old email out of your inbox breaks down the psychological barrier of staring at hundreds or thousands of messages that you feel unable to address. Maybe right now you are unable to address them, but you don't have to, not right away. Organizing old email is different from managing new email, and it's easier to go back to the old if and when there's a real need to, after you get comfortable managing what's coming in on a regular basis. Inbox 0 is like a clean desktop or a kitchen counter without anything on it, or a bedroom with everything put away. It's a temporary state, but it allows us to focus on other tasks without the distraction of clutter and chaos. For the second week, we followed up the bulk archiving process with a related step to make it into a powerful 1-2 punch: unsubscribe without mercy. This is always one of my favorites. It's cathartic, removing yourself over and over from maybe dozens of mailing lists, digitally telling people to stop bugging you. Step 1, go to your inbox. Step 2, look at the messages that arrived since you archived everything. And step 3, for every message that doesn't add real, tangible, obvious value to your life, unsubscribe. You can always resubscribe later if you miss it. That last step is subjective, but absolutely worth doing on a regular basis. Once you get comfortable with identifying the low-value email you receive and unsubscribing, you'll find it much easier to keep things from piling up in your inbox. Remember, email is like someone else's to-do list. Don't let things in if they're not really worth your time and attention. In the third week of email month, we added a bit of organization structure by simplifying your folders, or labels, if you use a label-based platform like Gmail. The goal here is to give yourself a good balance of different buckets for keeping messages that you've already processed but want to hold on to. Not too many, because that gets hard to manage pretty fast, but also not too few, because then they're barely useful. Step 1 is review the messages that have arrived over the past week or 2 that are worth keeping. Step 2, consider a small set of high-level categories that could reasonably contain them. And step 3, create those folders or labels for those categories and move any messages you've already read into those folders. Aim for a maximum of a dozen. It isn't a hard limit, but a good starting point. Keeping track of that many categories in your head is reasonable, and keeping the number small helps ensure everything is distinct between the categories. The idea is to be able to figure out where a message belongs quickly without wondering which place it fits in better. Once you've created those folders, practice sorting messages into them immediately after you've read or responded as needed. That is assuming, of course, you aren't just going to delete it in the first place. For week 4, we covered another one of my favorite practices, which is what I call the quick clean routine. To me, it's the key to keeping your inbox manageable, the difference between barely keeping your digital head above water and being in control. Step 1 is write down a short list of email organization tasks to do in 10 minutes or less. Step 2 is pick a time at least once per week, daily is better, for email management. And step 3 is add it to your calendar or set a recurring reminder so you can't forget. What you want here are the tasks that you know won't take much time. Don't worry about replying to every message or reading that fascinating finance newsletter. Process the messages that only need 5 seconds. Practice deleting the promotional emails without even reading them because you know you don't really need to buy anything from that store right now. Here's an example of the quick clean routine I do every morning. First, check the spam folder and fix any false positives, which there aren't usually any, and then empty the rest. Second, glance through promotions and sales and ads and delete them as soon as I've viewed them, or even before I've viewed them. Third, glance through notifications and delete anything that doesn't need any follow-up. And fourth, fully read through any remaining messages that will take less than 2 minutes. This generally leaves me with not more than 1 or 2 emails that I need to spend more significant time on later in the day. That's your goal. Quickly eliminate the majority, leaving only the few time-consuming items for a different, dedicated part of your day or week. We wrapped up in the 5th week of Email Month, exploring a few services that can streamline your email organization efforts. I looked at Clean Email, Maelstrom, Unroll Me, SaneBox, and Superhuman. These are only some of the tools out there, and whether they're a good fit for you depends on exactly which problems you want to solve. I recommend reviewing that week's video or article specifically if you want the details, but generally, I'd say check out SaneBox or Clean Email if you're mainly focused on personal use, or possibly Superhuman if you're more business focused and you have to communicate with your team a lot. All right, that was a quick trip through a lot of material. I hope you found it a good reminder or a good introduction if you weren't there the first time through earlier this year. As always, if you have any questions or ideas about email organization, comment below or send me a message through the Tidybytes website. I always love hearing from you, especially specific problems or challenges you'd like me to cover. Happy data taming, and I'll see you next week.